We've got some very interesting news from Pro Football Focus. They released an article yesterday where they ranked all 32 teams. They ranked their strengths, their weaknesses, and the X factors, among some other things. They actually have the Bears coming in at 20. That is tough to hear. We've been hearing it from all sorts of angles. I know people that are Chicago Bear fans, they're excited about the season. They're excited about the potential. But people outside of Chicago Bear fandom don't believe this team is going to be markedly better than the team last year. And that's kind of concerning considering all of the additions that were made. So if we just take a quick look at this article by PFF.com, I'll link it in the description so that you can take a look at it for yourself and let me know your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Do you think 20 is too high? Do you think 20 is just right? Do you suppose that the Bears are going to sneak up on a bunch of people? But look at this real quick here. Chicago Bears' biggest strength in 2023 is their coverage. There's no question. The secondary is probably their biggest strength and their most consistent. If we look at 2023, the secondary, the coverage, all three corners and both safeties were very strong and very consistent, and they really kept the Bears in games a lot of times. Which one surprising thing from this article is that according to PFF, their biggest weakness is or was in 2023 is the defensive line. Now going into 2024 season, I think the biggest question mark is still the defensive line. Yes, the Bears have Montez Sweat at one defensive end, but then who are the defensive tackles? Are those guys going to step up? They drafted 2 last year, and they had pretty average seasons. And who's going to play defensive end opposite of Montez Sweat? The Chicago Bears need another person, probably 2 people to step up and be more consistent. There were a lot of inconsistencies along that defensive line by guys not named Montez Sweat, and that's part of the reason why the Bears lost some of those games. If we are being honest and transparent about this, part of the reason why the Bears lost some of those games is because the defensive line let them down. But I think 2024, the biggest question mark will continue to be the defensive line, followed closely by the wide receivers and offensive line. I talked about this a couple days ago. I am extremely concerned about the health of Keenan Allen, and we don't know enough about Rome Odunze at the pro level and Caleb Williams at the pro level to be how are they going to turn out? The pro game is completely different than college, and so they're going to have to make a couple steps and a couple strides. The wide receivers are going to be depending on the quarterback, and the quarterback's going to depend on both the wide receivers and the offensive line. So the biggest X factor for 2024 is Darnell Wright, which I think is kind of interesting. As you know, he plays right tackle for the Chicago Bears. Is he the biggest X factor, though? I think it all falls back to the quarterback. If the quarterback can pick up the offense, if he can make the change, if he can graduate from high school to college, the Bears will be in good shape, because great quarterback play or even good quarterback play will cover up a lot of the blemishes by the offensive line. If the offensive line continues to struggle, because, as a Bears fan, you know that the offensive line has struggled for 20 years. They've struggled for at least 20 years, thinking all the way back to Jamarcus Webb. You can't really pinpoint when the Bears had a very solid, strong offensive line. If you look at the last few quarterbacks, you can look all the way back to Jay Cutler. The offensive line was always a huge question mark. Anyway, rookie to watch. This is no question. Caleb Williams, over under 8.5 wins. That is tough to hear as a Bears fan. 8.5 wins is not going to get you in the playoffs. And there are a lot of people around the Chicago Bears, journalists, analysts, they're saying that if they don't make the playoffs this year is a bust. That's what a lot of people are saying, playoff or bust. And according to Pro Football Focus, they're having them poised to win 8.5 games or less, which is really concerning if you are a Bears fan. So if we look at the starting lineup here, there's probably no doubt or no question. It'll be really interesting to see what they do with Rome Odunze. Do they move him outside? Does Keenan Allen come down and play the slot? What are they going to do there? Now, if we look at this, which is really interesting, and I just want to compare where the Bears wind up to where the Lions and the Packers and the Vikings, oh my, you can see the Vikings here are poised to win over 6.5 games. So they think the Vikings are going to take a step up, and they think the Bears are going to take a step down, which is really, really interesting. And it's going to be tough. That's a tough pill to swallow if you are a Bears fan and you're expecting them to sniff the playoffs. If we look at the Detroit Lions, they're expected to win at least 11 games, which is interesting. And so you've got the Lions at 11 games. You've got the Packers. If we look at this, we've got the Packers at 10 wins. We've got the Lions at 7, and then the Bears maybe at 7, fighting for third place and not making the playoffs. Now, this is still early. Things are poised to change, and they obviously will change, and they'll change over and over again, but this is not great news. This is like the third day in a row of not great news as a Chicago Bear fan. Comment in the comment section below what you think. Do you think PFF is full of it? Do you think that the Bears are going to win 8 games, less than 8 games? Let me know what your thoughts are. And also don't forget to like, follow, comment, share, and subscribe to the Bear Claw podcast.